Greetings. Happy Thursday once again. It's that time of week. Uh, Welcome to my man cave. It's my favorite night of the week, and I'm riding solo tonight. Brother Jeff's not going to be with us tonight, and Tanya is head first into NCAA tournament play upstairs, so she's not with us either. So we're gonna wing it tonight on my own. So see, the regulars are starting to roll in here. Brian and Michael and Ryan, good to have you with us. Uh, if anybody would like to come on and sidekick with me, I'm going to post a link in the chat box here where you're welcome to join me. If you decide you want to join me live on screen, you'll need to have whatever device you're watching on, and you'll need to have headphones and to use to minimize feedback problems. So I'll post that link here if anybody wants to jump in with me. Feel free. And once again, like I said, I don't have a sidekick or a producer tonight. I'm running by myself. It's going to be one of those weeks, but it is what it is. So, Anthony said he found some Buffalo Trace. I heard through the grapevine, I think Honorog mentioned it this week, that Buffalo Trace, I don't know how true this is and how it applies to us here, but he said that that's no longer an allocated bourbon, but I don't know. Buffalo Trace is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not one that I chase. It is a good bourbon, but there's too many others I like better to spend much time hunting that one down. Tonight, I'm going to have a glass of the Southern Star. This is from Southern Distilling. This is called Southern Star Paragon. Southern Distilling is near me. It's in Statesville, North Carolina, which is about I guess it's 35 miles or so east of me along Interstate 40. It's not a very long drive down there to the distillery, but this Paragon is the cask strength version of their wheated bourbon, and it's really good. I really like it. And in fact, I'll put this up against Weller. Back behind me up here. Oh boy. My video has stopped. Can anybody tell me if I'm still online? My video just froze. I don't know if I'm still with you or not. John says that it's working. The video's frozen. Give me one moment here. Let me see if I can correct that. Okay, maybe I'm back. Guys, I apologize. I don't know what's happening there. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty with the webcam in the browser. It's the webcam's working, but it didn't want to work in my browser. So if you guys hear me and see me now, somebody let me know that I'm good, and we'll try to keep going here. I bring everything back up to where I was. Uh, I hate it when I have problems like this. It's kind of a challenge sometimes. Okay, I apologize once again. So let me take a moment here to get my other share screen back up that I'm going to have some pictures in here in a little bit, and we'll be able to get things rolling. That looks good. I don't quite understand what happened. But anyway, I think I was talking about my Southern Star bourbon. So now I'm really behind on getting that. So I'm gonna have a little pour of that. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's like I said, it's a local distillery. And I'll put this bottle up against, I think I was getting ready to point at that bottle of Weller up there behind me. That's the Weller Antique 107. I'll put this up with that any day of the week, any day. And this is, I don't know, that's readily available to me, but I'm sure that's probably not as easy to find outside of my local area. So anyway, cheers, everybody. Huh. I don't have Jeff with me, but once again, I said I'll post that link again if anybody wants to jump in with me and be a sidekick on screen, feel free to click that link and have yourself some headphones set up with whatever audio and video device you're using, and we'll let you come in here and hang out with me, and we'll talk shop. So we're probably gonna be without Tanya for a while. I figure at least until next week, this week and next week. After that, I'm not so sure because the NCAA play runs on Thursdays for the next 2 weeks. I know, so we'll see. Okay. Anyway, back to business. I didn't get a lot of cooking done this week. I was planning to do my cooking yesterday, but I had a day yesterday that I don't even want to talk about. Everything I touched yesterday blew up. I had I had a horrible day. I needed to do some maintenance, some very simple maintenance on my wife's car, and I ended up spending all day on it and didn't get any of it done. It was one of those days. Uh, but here we are. We made it, and we'll just keep on going. This week, I wanted to do I wanted to focus on a side. I didn't realize I wasn't going to have Jeff with me until just an hour or two ago. If I would have known earlier I wasn't going to have Jeff, I would have brought more to the table today. But we'll muddle through it. I wanted to do something I've done a couple times in the past. I wanted to finally bring it here. It's kind of it's a side dish idea that's a grilled zucchini, and it's really delicious. It's really easy to make. So I'm going to bring my pictures up here. Uh, I needed some toasted sesame seeds, which I didn't have. So I've got this little 8-inch all clad stainless steel skillet on my shelf over here. And about the only thing I really use this skillet for is toast and spices. And as you can see, that real shallow curve on that pan makes it real easy to swivel and toss stuff in this pan. And the color of the pan makes it easy to watch the color change on these sesame seeds. Little video up here if it'll load. And I just kind of wiggle that guy around on the stovetop until those sesame seeds turn that about that level of toasted color. And then here's what they look like when they're done. And toasting the sesame seeds is not a requirement. It just really brings out a deeper flavor. I know for those of you that like sesame seeds and cook with sesame seeds, you know the difference in the flavor from the toasted. If you don't want to do these in a pan over a stove, and also I just put my burner on high for that, and this goes quickly. So once water sizzles in the pan, dump your sesame seeds in there and just watch them, keep them going, because if you let them sit there, you'll see some little wisps of smoke. And once you see that, that's when it's time to start tossing. Just start shaking them around and leave that burner on high. And within 90 seconds or so, you're here. You've got what you see here, and just don't leave them sitting in the pan. Take them out of the pan immediately, because that pan is still hot and it'll burn those. But like I said, I like doing them in that stainless steel pan. It makes it kind of easier to see the color, and the surface is smoother, so it's very easy to keep those small sesame seeds working in there. I use that same pan. I'll toast some things like peppercorns. It might be black pepper, or it might be cinnamon. A piece of a cinnamon stick, or whatever it is. I might want to toast to bring out. I guess you could say that it excites the oils within the spice to really bring their flavor out. And also, if you guys can't see these pictures for any reason, let me know that too, because we had that problem one time before. I'm assuming that my pictures are showing okay. So the base and the key to this grilled zucchini is a miso glaze that I make here using miso paste, mirin, uh, soy sauce, and sugar. And if you're not familiar with mirin, what mirin is, it's a sweet rice wine that you'll find it in the Japanese section of about, I don't know, most grocery stores have mirin. You'll find it at the same place where they have their little Asian section where they have teriyaki sauce and all that other stuff. And if you don't want to use mirin, you could use that Shaoxing cooking wine, but the mirin I think's got the right level of sweetness for this particular project. And it's very simple to put this together. This is what I put in this today. 3 tablespoons of the miso paste, 2 tablespoons of mirin, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1.5 teaspoons of the soy sauce. And you can play around with this and make it what you want it to be. You can use. My wife and I had the conversation today. Should I use the darker miso paste or not? And I just decided to go with the lighter one today. I might try. I haven't tried it with the red miso paste yet, but in terms of appearance, I think I like the way this lighter color one works out. But that's all that goes in here. And once again, you can make it whatever you want it to be by putting whatever you want in it. So I just put the tablespoons of miso paste in the bottom of my small mixing bowl, dump the mirin in, the sugar, and then the soy sauce, and then go to work on it with the whisk. And this makes a beautiful little sauce or a glaze. And this is where I definitely encourage you to taste this right here, because this is the essence of the flavor that you're getting ready to put on this zucchini. And this is really delicious. There's a lot of things I think you can do with this paste or this glaze. It would be good on a lot of things, a lot of veggies, and this I think would also be good on fish, by the way. So keep that in mind. I took a little bit of it back and put it in another container and I put it in the refrigerator and I'm going to use some of it later. But this will save in it'll save in your refrigerator for, I don't know. I wouldn't try to keep that longer than 5 or 6 days probably. So we have some help here tonight. Anthony's decided to join us. Anthony, can you hear me? Good.
Yeah, I got you.
Welcome aboard. Glad you could jump in here with me tonight. It's always better when I've got somebody to bounce off of. So
now I just got to figure out I'm hearing it twice, so I got to figure out it on my end.
yeah, if your PC speaker's playing and your headphones, you'll hear it twice. So, are you hearing me twice or hearing you twice? Okay, Anthony, can you hear me?
Both of us. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're from.
So, yep, I'm Anthony Weinsack. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've been a Kamado Joe user probably a good 10 years now. And before that, I was using an Imperial Kamado that my mom bought my dad in 1984. And I've rebuilt it like 3 times. And it's about the same size as the 18-inch Kamado.
Right. I've seen a lot of those online. I've never seen one up close though. Anyway, but Anthony lives here in North Carolina. He's kind of a homeboy.
Yes.
So let me bring my pictures back up here, and I'll keep going on this miso, and then we'll dig into some of the stuff you do here in a minute. Right. But this I reserved a little bit of this back, and also because we're going to glaze with it after the cook as well. So I fired up. I cooked on the Huntsman. Like I said, guys, I'm giving this Huntsman a workout. I decided when I got this grill that I was going to try to make it my primary grill for at least 6 months, and I'm sticking to that. I'm cooking everything on this grill, so I can maybe try to call myself an experienced user or an authority on this thing. I really like it so far. We're going to hear more about that later because I'm ultimately going to have Jeremiah Strickland back on here to talk about it again a little bit later. So I like to use these square paraffin starter cubes, and the way I light my chimney is I just stick one of those in the grate there where it's propped up, and I light it, and then I set my chimney right on top of it. I wanted to use briquettes today, but I discovered when I got ready to start cooking that I'm out of briquettes, and so I went ahead and used some lump. I just made one chimney full of lump, and while that was getting ready to go, I got my steak out of the refrigerator. This steak, it's better than it looks, but I took this steak out of the freezer last week and didn't get it cooked. It's been in my refrigerator out of the freezer for a week, and I didn't want to let it sit any longer. So I cooked the steak. I just decided to make the steak to go with this zucchini. I was just going to do the zucchini, but I decided to just turn it into a meal. So this is a slice off the whole strip loin that I bought a while back at our local U.S. Food chef store. So I seasoned it nicely, and I used today. I used the Killer Hogs VAP rub, which is a basic. It's one of their salt, pepper, garlic blends. A very, very good version of an AP. I seasoned both sides of that and let it sit for about 20 minutes while I was getting my grill ready.
Yeah.
So once the charcoal was good to go, I dumped it out on one half of the grill. And what's a little hard to see here is I was trying to set up 2 different heat zones here, but I didn't really have enough room underneath the lower grate. And this lower grate is part of the Huntsman or Spider Grills, what they call the next level edition. And that next level edition is a lower grate ring that comes with 2 of these half moon grates that you can use to get down really close to the charcoal, which is great for cooking steaks. But that's a little too close to the coal for cooking veggies. So we'll look at that in a minute too. So I wanted to slice my zucchinis lengthwise. One of the things that I like to do if I'm going to slice a zucchini lengthwise is I just chop the ends off of it. That way I can stand it up on its end. And when you stand that zucchini up on its end, it's very easy to align it to you where you're perpendicular parallel to any curve that might be in the zucchini. And it makes it very easy to run your chef's knife right down through the middle of it and get it centered up where you have the same thickness. And in a case like this, you want these to be very similar in thickness where they'll cook at the same time. So I got sliced and took another knife and we scored the top. I wanted to score a little diamond pattern in the top of this. And I went ahead and tossed my steak on, and I basically got my steak cooked and had it sitting aside while I was, well, let me back up here. This is one of those cooks where I keep the steak moving pretty much. I don't let it sit for any real length of time without turning it. So I got the steak to where I wanted it on the outside, and it needed some indirect time to finish. And while I've got it sitting over here on the indirect side, I brought in the other two grill grates because this second grate up high is high enough. It's far enough away from those coals that I can cook veggies without having to worry about burning them or scorching. So I used a basting brush to baste on some of that miso glaze that we made on the top of this zucchini, and I let that sit. That also sat here for a little while before I started cooking as well. That I'll give that 10 minutes at a minimum. So you take those and you put them face down over on your grill. And if you're not going to do this on a grill, you can do this in a skillet as well. But if you're going to do it in a skillet, you're going to want to put a little bit of oil, like a little vegetable oil or maybe even avocado oil down. You don't want to do this glaze directly to a surface like a hot pan without putting some kind of oil underneath it. So you want to give these guys just a couple of minutes until you get some char. This is all I was looking for, was about that level of char. And as that chars, those scores open up a little bit. So now we want to put on a little bit more of our miso glaze where it can build some additional flavor and get down in the cracks. So at this point, what you want to do is you want to close the grill back up and let those guys cook over indirect heat until they're cooked all the way through, until they're nice and tender. So you just kind of have to go by feel on when a zucchini's ready. You know, I guess some people might like zucchini at different consistencies. I like mine to be particularly soft, kind of like you might want a piece of grilled squash. You know, you want it about that same level. And with the lid closed, when this comes back, you can see that miso glaze tacks up just a little bit. So that's basically all there is to this. I served this, with that steak and a little bit of rice that I had made in my rice cooker. I garnished this with some of those toasted sesame seeds and some green onions. It's really delicious. And one of the things I didn't do today that I should have done, I think it might be better to par cook the zucchini. I think the next time I do this, I'm going to steam the zucchini for probably, I'm thinking maybe 15 or 20 minutes before I go to the grill with it, where all I've got to do when I go to the grill is char it a little bit and then tack up the glaze where I can't see any. Have you ever cooked veggies this way, Anthony? Have you done this before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you grilled zucchini?
I've done grilled zucchini, and something else that we really like to do is grilled romaine.
Right.
Take a head of romaine, cut it down the middle.
Cut it down the middle, right?
Yep. and that's a wonderful side to go along
I've
with the
not done
steak.
romaine. I've done bok choy and baby bok choy, uh, but I've not done romaine. That's probably a good idea. But this,
It's super simple.
I didn't spend a whole lot of time making my money shot photograph here. And now looking back at this, I wish I had put it in a little better light. This was in the shade outside. Uh, we had cloudy weather here most of the day today with a little bit of sprinkling rain coming and going, but um, this was really delicious. It's really good. It's really easy. And that glaze recipe produces enough glaze. You could probably do 6 or 8, or probably I would say 10 to 12 halves of a zucchini. That glaze recipe, I made plenty enough to do a lot of these, but you can play around with that. The flavor here is definitely Asian. You know, that miso flavor, that fermented. I guess it's a tofu or a soy product. I don't. I really should have looked up. I don't know a whole lot about miso. It's not something I use very often. It's something I'm trying to learn to use. And one of the things I want to do with this miso paste is incorporate that into my flavorful liquids philosophy, where when I cook things that a lot of people would normally cook in water, I like to use stocks and broths, but I think this miso would be good. And I'm thinking next time I cook rice in my rice cooker that I'm going to put maybe a teaspoon of miso paste in the water in my rice cooker to flavor the rice. I think that might be really good. The miso is a very umami. Umami is the only way I know how to really describe miso. Do you have a better way to describe the miso flavor, Anthony?
I mean, it's like a cross between soy and not fish sauce.
Well,
Almost a
fish sauce it does. That's the umami.
yeah,
The fish sauce brings that
yeah.
umami, but it's uh it's one of those flavors that you'll recognize when you taste it. You've had the flavor before in Asian foods. It's a common ingredient in a lot of things, and you'll definitely recognize the flavor. But this is also one of those ingredients that if you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend taking a little pinch of it right out of the tub and tasting it. Taste these things as you go, because that'll give you, that can be your compass as to which direction you want to go with these flavors. But this, unfortunately, this week, this is all the cooking I brought to the table today. I was going to make some homemade mustard today and bring it, and I didn't get that done. I'm going to make some Guinness mustard. I was looking for things this week to do with the St. Patrick's Day theme, and I saw an idea of a Guinness pie that I wanted to make, which was kind of like, it was kind of like a shepherd's pie, but instead of the mashed potato topping, it just had a regular pie crust. It's like a beef pot pie sort of dish made with beef and Guinness and some of the Irish flavors. Did you celebrate St. Patty's Day with something green this week?
Well, I wouldn't say it was green, but it was red and it was pastrami.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well,
but yeah,
I had my hands on a tri-tip today. I was thinking about one of my other friends makes has made some pastrami with a tri-tip. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do that or not. Um, did you make your pastrami?
I bought a corned beef brisket from Costco, and
Right.
this was probably the best one I've done though, because I ended
Was it
up
a point or a flat?
it was a flat,
Yeah.
but I smoked it or I soaked it for 2 days.
Right.
Usually they say like 8 hours or something like that. You
Yeah.
change the water a couple times, but I actually soaked mine for 2 days, and it was amazing. And
Yeah.
stretched it as I was smoking it.
Hmm.
Took it out, wrapped it at 165 on butcher paper, put it back on the grill, took it at 200, took it off, put it in an aluminum foil pan, put it in a cooler, let it rest for about 8 hours, and then put it in the refrigerator. And
Right.
then I bought a commercial slicer several years ago when I was doing bacon, and
Yeah.
put it on that sucker, and it was just paper thin. It
Yeah.
came out amazing. Had nice au jus, and
I would love to have, I would love to have a really high end slicer here, but I just don't have room for it. Uh, I don't have the ability to do those paper thin slices. And I do know from experience that it takes a higher end slicer to be able to do that well. I've had cheap slicers before and it's just not, I can make shaved pastrami with a cheap slicer, but I can't make a paper thin slice all the way through the cut of beef with it. But I just don't, I've had opportunities and I've seen these Hobarts on sale on Marketplace and on Craigslist that just need a little bit of love to get them back in action again. But I just don't have the space for it in my man cave basement here. Those things are so large.
yeah, I looked out on mine. It was a auction site, and all of the Sam's Clubs had replaced theirs, and so they
Right,
had like 15 or 20 of them in a warehouse. And I got it for
right.
$300. It's a Hobart.
Yep. So there's a there's less expensive options than Hobart, but the problem is even with the less expensive option, it doesn't solve the size problem because they've got a big footprint and I don't have kitchen counter space down here in my man cave. I've got a stovetop and a sink, but no counter space. And over on the other side here, on my kitchen side, I've got a big open area where I've got a 30, it's a 36 by 48-inch stainless steel prep table that I bought. That's my prep space, but that a slicer that size will take up a third of that table or better, and I'm not willing to give it up. I like
Keep mine
having
in.
that.
I keep mine in the garage.
I do a lot of things on that table besides food and food prep, so I can't leave a slicer on it all the time. That's a work table that I use for working on various other things where I need a flat surface to do it, and I can't dedicate that to it. I don't know if there are some smaller slicers out there that are capable of doing the paper thin, but they're really expensive. Have you been to Atlanta Grill Company, Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
Have
Few
you seen
times.
the Burkell, the Burkle?
Mm-hmm.
Those
Those are nice.
slicers will do really thin, but they're expensive. They're a lot of money.
Yeah. My next big purchase is going to have to be a chamber sealer.
Yes, that's well worth your money there. I wouldn't give mine. Mm-mm. There's a there. The good news about chamber sealers are there's several out there now that are in the $500 price range that I think are pretty decent. The I've got one. I've got one sitting over here. The very first one I bought, I did a video on it way back. I bought it on eBay. It was this Chinese made vacuum sealer, and it does a good job actually. I paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 for that one. And the only beef I've got with it is the sealer bar on it has this Teflon tape on it, and the
Mm-hmm.
Teflon tape doesn't stay in place, and it tends to kink and wrinkle on that machine, and I have to replace it fairly regularly. Other than that, uh, there's nothing wrong with it. I need to get rid of it. I listed the thing on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist one time a while back and never even got a bite on it, which surprised me. Maybe it's time to do that again because it does work. It's just it's not a name brand box. It's not something people are used to seeing. But I don't know.
Yeah,
The vacuum sealer,
my food
yeah,
saver is just not doing the job. I spent all this time and money and stuff like that with getting some nice cuts of meat or something like that, or separating stuff out and doing
yep.
bacon, and then seal it up, and then go in a week later and it's lost its seal.
Yeah, well, if it's losing its seal, it might be there's a couple of things that might be going wrong that you might be able to work with on that. The something might be wrong with the sealer, but one of the things I found on the food saver, I've got a food saver because there's a handful of things where I still need to seal something up in a longer bag that won't fit over here. Like if I want to seal a whole rack of ribs or something, I can't pull that off in my chamber sealer. Um, but the problem with the channel sealers is if there's any kind of moisture in the bag, it's going to suck that moisture up toward your seal spot, and sometimes that can cause the seal not to work properly. You don't have that problem with a chamber sealer because it's not sucking air out of the bag. It's sucking air out of the entire chamber that the bag's in. The bag doesn't, nothing happens to the bag until you seal the bag and then let the air back into the I'm sure you've seen these things. Have you seen these things in action? It's really fun
Yeah,
to watch it.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
also
yeah,
that's with the chamber sealer you can do liquid, and
right. You can seal bags of liquid in it. The only problem you got to watch out for there with these is if you've ever seen that done, water or these liquids will boil at room temperature when the pressure gets down low enough inside that chamber. They'll start boiling.
ooh,
They're not hot. They're room temperature, but they're boiling because of the low air pressure. And sometimes that can get out, that can make a mess if you're not watching it. It can boil out of the bag.
hmm,
So if you're going to seal it, one of the things about sealing liquids is you don't have to have a vacuum in there. You don't really need an air-free seal. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of air left in that bag
yeah,
because freezing, vacuum sealing a liquid, especially if you're just going to toss it in the freezer, it's not something that freezer burn is going to have any impact on. You just need it in a sealed bag. And but this chamber sealer, this JVR I've got here, if I put a bag of liquid in there that's got it doesn't really matter how much liquid's in it. If I've got my suction on for 20 at about the 20 to 25-second mark, it's boiling. I've got to watch it and stop it and seal the bag before it boils because even though it's room temperature, it's still creating a vapor. There's room temperature steam associated with that. If you can imagine that.
yeah,
So, and it will get up there and it'll inhibit the seal. So there's some things to watch, but the chamber sealer is a game changer for me and probably for everybody, and for all the reasons I've mentioned before. It allows you to break down bulk purchases and save them effectively. You could do all that with a channel sealer. It's just in the long haul, if you're doing a lot of it, it's more expensive to use a food saver because of the cost of the bags. These bags that I use, I happen to have some right here. These are the 10 by these are my 10 by 12 bags, I believe. Yeah. I don't use these as often. And I am just about out of my 8 by 10s. I need to order some, but these come in a 500. Each of these blue bags, actually, each of these packages has 250 in it. And I had bought 1,000 of those, and buying those 1,000 at a time, they're 5 to 6 cents a piece. And
wow,
when you start calculating the cost of the food saver bags, a 12-inch food saver bag is going to be 25 cents or better, even 20 to 25 cents, even with some of the no name brand bags. And I'm getting, since I started doing chamber sealing, I've been almost through 2,000 8 by 10 bags, and I've been through somewhere between 500 and 750 10 by 12 bags, and I've been through 2 or 300. I've got some 6 by 8 bags that I use for smaller things. I've been through those, but I use the 8 by 10, and I'm thinking about buying. I'd like to consolidate, and I just don't. I'm trying to decide if the 8x10s are really right bag size, and I don't think it is. I think a 10x10 or even the 10x12 I might just try to go to all one bag size. Some of my bags get reused. Like if I buy a block of cheese, like for instance, anytime I buy a block of Parm or a block of Pecorino Romano, some of the hard Italian cheeses, I'll take it out and I'll grade off what I need, and then I'll just put it in a vacuum seal bag, toss it in the refrigerator. I always put that little block of cheese in a 10x12 bag, because next time I open that bag, I'm going to cut it right below the seal, get what I need, put it back in that same bag, and run it back through the sealer again. So an 8x12 bag, like, or a 10x12 bag like that, might get 6 or 7 uses, 6 or 7 trips through the sealer before I throw the bag away. So that makes them cost even less. I don't know. I guess you could do something similar with the channel sealer. If you made your bag long enough, you could reseal the end of it, I guess.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. There's certain things you don't ever want to seal using the channel sealer, because I ruined one of mine parceling out 00 Italian flour. Yeah, because before I knew what was going on, I had sucked flour into the pump, and there was no fixing that. I threw the thing away, and bought another one. And the chamber sealer is the most used accessory in my kitchen. It's definitely the one thing that I would hate to have to do without. Let's see. I don't know if I've missed any questions here. And Honorog says he finds it salty, and that's probably talking about the miso paste. It is salty. I did see a lower, reduced sodium version of one of the light paste today, and when I looked at it, it wasn't really that much lower than the regular stuff. So when you see something that's Asian that says low sodium, it's still going to have a lot of salt in it. It's one of those situations where there's just a lot of salt involved. I don't know if the miso has MSG in it or not. I'd have to look. Let's look at see if the ingredients are listed on that miso tub. I don't know. I didn't bother and look at it, but it's let's see. The lid has a recipe for miso soup and miso salad dressing.
1 second.
The ingredients of this miso paste are filtered water, cultured rice. I can't remember what that cultured rice is called, but it's actually a rice that's got a mold on it. I've used that before in some other stuff. Koji, that's what it's called. It's right here on the label. Organic whole soybeans and sea salt. So that's really all that's here. But that koji, that rice, that cultured rice that they're using, that brings in the required materials to ferment, and that's what it has. So it's mostly soy sauce, or not soy sauce, but mostly soybean salt that's fermented. That koji, the koji thing, I bought some of that rice to try the koji version of dry aged steaks. That was a fad thing that came through several years back, and I wasn't really overly impressed with it. It was interesting, but it's not something I would do or recommend. So, but I do plan to do a lot more experimenting with miso. Do you do anything interesting or fun with the miso, Anthony?
When you were saying miso earlier, I was for some reason or other I had it in my head but it's mirin that I was actually referring to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I don't do anything with miso.
Yeah, the
But
mirin's is just a sweetener in my opinion. There's some level of umami in the mirin itself, but not a lot. It's just that's another ingredient you want to taste individually. So let's
one thing
see.
we did do this week is we had leftover pastrami, and
Mhm.
my wife found a recipe for um, pastrami egg rolls.
Right.
I got some cabbage and sliced some thin sliced cabbage,
Yeah.
and put some of the pastrami. We found some egg roll wrappers,
Hmm.
and did that. And put them in the air fryer. They were really good with
I
some
don't
cheese.
remember where my wife and I were somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but they had Reuben egg rolls
Yep.
that had pastrami, sauerkraut, the Russian dressing, and a little bit of Swiss cheese or Gruyere
Hmm.
or something inside of it. They were absolutely delicious, and it was just a kind of a deconstructed Reuben in an egg roll wrapper that was deep fried.
Exactly.
And I don't remember where we had those, but they were good. And it's something I've threatened I don't know how many times to learn to make egg rolls, and simply because an egg roll is a great way for me to get rid of small amounts of leftovers without throwing them away. Uh, because I feel like I could bring those egg rolls together, and I can go ahead and cook them, and I could par freeze them, vacuum seal them not too tightly, throw them in the freezer, and get them back out. And like you said, reheat them in the oven. Or I don't have a legitimate air fryer. I've got a toaster oven that's got an air fry function on it that
Hmm.
actually works pretty well. It's just not a high capacity air fryer, but for egg rolls, I don't ever need to do more than two of them at a time. Usually for me and Tanya, I don't know if Tanya would eat one with the pastrami. Tanya likes veggie egg rolls, but then again, that's something you do with when you've got a quarter of a head of cabbage left over for something or some other veggies. Just get that stuff in a saucepan or in a large skillet with a little oil and toss it, cook it down, soften it up, season it, and put a little bit of miso paste in with that. That'd be another good place to use some miso paste. But make your vegetable your sautéed veggies and roll it into an egg roll or a you know it's something I'd like to do. And I see egg roll wrappers every time I. The egg roll wrappers are right where the miso is in the produce case, so they're right there. They'll have egg roll wrappers. They'll have wonton wrappers.
Hmm.
They're all in the same spot, and the only problem I've got with them is they're also real close to all that uh, food that's not real food. They've got it's by the vegan stuff in the produce
It,
section. Yeah,
it is.
it's by all the meatless meat and the cheeseless cheese.
Yeah, but you can put real meat in that.
Yeah. I don't want to be
So
seen hanging out too close to that spot in the grocery store there, because if somebody that knows me sees me standing over there, they're going to start asking questions. Because the people that know me know I make fun of that stuff, and I really don't. I really don't make too much fun of it, or not seriously. I try to be considerate of what other people choose to eat. Not I just make fun of it occasionally.
well, I told my
Yeah.
wife, I said this would be these egg roll wrappers would be perfect for leftover pork barbecue and slaw. And I don't think you're a
Mhm.
slaw guy, are you?
Oh, I love slaw.
Oh, you love on your
Yeah,
barbecue though?
I make a great coleslaw.
Okay.
I make a great Southern sweet coleslaw. Maybe I'll publish that recipe again on the Man Cave Meals page. It's my secret ingredient in my coleslaw is the tarragon vinegar, and it's amazing. It's really good. My mom and her friends all love it. And whenever I'm feeding that crowd pulled pork barbecue, I always make the slaw. I make two kinds of slaw. I make that. That's the same kind of slaw that you'd put on a pulled pork sandwich or on a burger or even on a hot dog. I make a different slaw for tacos. That's it's still slightly sweet, but I'm bringing lime juice to the party for the slaw that I make to go on. Lime juice and cilantro. You know, those for a taco slaw, it bring that lime juice and cilantro bring that summertime vibe to that coleslaw. And I've made that on a video somewhere down the line. And guys, once again, I've made so many videos. I don't know if it's a Man Cave Meals, an Atlanta Grill Company, or a Kamado Joe video, but I made a taco video one time where I made that cilantro lime coleslaw, and it's out there. I do make coleslaw in different slaw consistencies depending on who I'm going to feed it to. I like my coleslaw not to be overly finely chopped. I like basically to have strands of cabbage and not matchstick carrots, but grated carrot. I like it to have. I don't like it to be too finely chopped, but once again, it's one of those things that's the preference side of coleslaw, in my opinion, is how coarsely or how finely you're chopping what goes in it. Because mine's going to get cabbage, onion, and carrot. Those are the three primary things. I may use a little red cabbage and a little regular cabbage. It just depends on what I have or what I can get together. But I like coleslaw. It's simply because it's easy to make. It's quick, and if I know I'm going to make it, I make my dressing ahead of time. I like to have the dressing done a day or two before I'm going to make the slaw. I don't like to put the slaw itself and the dressing together till right before I'm ready to serve it, because I don't like my slaw to get mushy in any way. I like that cabbage to still have that little bit of crunch.
Yeah, well, smoking Tar Heel, I'm right there with you. I grew up in Winston-Salem. I am a Lexington style all day, every day slaw guy. So
okay,
red slaw.
Okay, I know what you're coming from. I'm not a fan of that, but I recognize it as a thing, especially here in North Carolina. So, and guys, you guys down in the eastern part of the state, I know Tar Heel's down that way somewhere, and you're down that way, but I'm far enough west that the barbecue's different on my side of the state. It's this western North Carolina thing is what I like to call Kansas City style barbecue that's got a little bit of vinegar splashed in somewhere. It's the same sweet, thick red barbecue sauce that's got a lot of sugar in it, but you can tell that somebody put more vinegar in it than they intended to, because there's a little bit of tang on the back side of it. I love that. I am not as big on the Eastern North Carolina barbecue, but it is a thing, and it's world renowned. There's down. How far are you from Lexington? Because I know there's a couple of great places up there.
Well, from here to Lexington, I can make it to Lexington Honeymonks in probably hour and 10.
Yep, so, that's right. Tar Heel's closer to me. He's not that far from here.
But
I have trouble keeping up with it.
Mr. Barbecue on Peters Creek Parkway I grew up mowing their grass at the barbecue place, and it was 2 miles from my high school, so it was right. That was what I grew up on.
Honorog mentions making dumplings with leftover barbecue. I've not really done that, but Anthony, another way to get rid of stuff if you don't want to make egg rolls is puff pastry. It's real easy to make stuff and wrap it in puff pastry. I've done that before. you can put anything you want in puff pastry. You can make different pockets. I don't know if you could call that a dumpling. I know you really wouldn't because it's different, but puff pastry gives you a lot of options as to what you're going to do with it based on how thinly you roll it out, or you can make like the crab rangoons and stuff. Those rangoons are done in wonton wrappers, but you can make that same shape and that same pocket piece with uh, my mind's going blank here now, with the puff pastry, just by rolling it out a little thinner where it won't puff out too much when you cook it. So there's a lot of things to do there, especially with small amounts of stuff. And but the egg roll is something I'm going to have to get on. I know my wife and I both love egg rolls, and I've not bothered to learn to make egg rolls yet. But they're looking at it. I have watched videos on people doing it. It looks painlessly easy.
It is.
There's
It's a square.
nothing.
You put the stuff in,
You roll it
couple
like a
triangle
burrito.
folds, and then roll it up.
Yeah.
Little bit of water around the edge, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Just to get it to stick together.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite favorite Chinese restaurant, the Chinese fast food place that I hit several times a month, they make their homemade egg rolls, and it's one of my favorite things when I go there. And I like dipping mine in that hot Chinese mustard, just a little bit, not overdoing it, because their hot Chinese mustard's hot enough it'll take your breath away if you get a little bit too much of it at once, which happens to me occasionally. If you ever walk in a Chinese restaurant and hear somebody hacking up a lung, it's me, because I got too much of that hot mustard on the end of my egg roll.
That's like the that's like the green with the sushi. What's the hot green paste for
the wasabi?
Wasabi, yeah. That's like wasabi. That'll clear you out.
Yeah. The wasabi paste is usually fairly spicy. Most of the wasabi paste that I come across here is all horseradish. I don't know if I've ever had real wasabi before. If I have, I was unaware of it. No, I have. I have. We had it at when my wife and I went to Morimoto in Honolulu on Waikiki Beach. I had real wasabi there. That might be the only place I've ever had it. But honestly, the horseradish is spicy. It's spicy enough. When I'm eating sushi, I'll take the little soy sauce tray and I'll put a little bit of soy sauce in it, and I'll also put a pinch of that wasabi paste in it and stir it in and let that wasabi paste kind of dissolve in that soy sauce, and I'll dip my sushi in that to bring some extra flavor to it. I love. My wife and I hadn't done sushi lately. We're gonna have to get that.
Now, are you making your own, or you buying it?
No, I go out for sushi. There's one place that's not far from me. They make incredibly good sushi rolls. I'm a fan of the dragon rolls, and this place makes 4 or 5 dragon rolls that I really like, and that's usually my meal. I'll but the dragon roll is my meal if I go to that place. I'll get a dragon roll, and I might get a side of the mushroom soup, or maybe their spring rolls to have with it. But their dragon rolls are like $12 or $13, and it's for me, it's a good enough for a meal. They're really good. That's my favorite place, and it's a place called Kin to Kin, and it's in the building that it's in is an old movie theater, and the restaurant is in the lobby section of the movie theater. They can't seat very many people in there. They've got, let's see, 3, 7, 8. They've only got about 12 tables in the place that hold at least 4 people. It's a kind of a small place, but their sushi rolls are better. And that's the only way. I don't eat sushi anywhere where it's pre-made. I've never bought grocery store sushi or convenience store sushi, or I've never bought sushi to go. I'm kind of a stickler about that. I just don't have enough experience with it really to know. I've never bought sushi at Sam's Club. You know, they've got sushi trays in the cooler in the meat department at Sam's Club, and you know it doesn't look bad, but to me, there's something about I don't know if I've got some personal hang up with the idea of buying sushi that wasn't made right when I ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, all it takes is one time.
Yeah,
To
I
get
know, and
sick
I'm
off
afraid of that because if that happens to me, Anthony,
uh-huh.
it's gonna turn me against sushi for the same reason I don't like tequila. Back when in my younger days, there was this occasion that happened where I had way too much tequila one time, and now to this day, the smell of tequila still brings back memories that I don't want to have, and I've never really been able to reapproach tequila so much after that. So I don't want my sushi experience to get ruined, so I kind of don't take chances with it. But I love it. My wife will eat veggie sushi. She won't eat any of the sushi with fish. She'll eat the what do they call the egg? Is it unagi? Uh, she'll eat the sushi that's got the scrambled egg in it.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll eat most of the veggie rolls.
The California roll.
Yeah, the California rolls, and there's most of these places around here that sell sushi don't call them California rolls here. Some of the places do, but they'll have some locally appropriate name for some. They're making a California roll and they're calling it something else to make it sound special.
Hickory roll.
Yeah, but she'll eat some of that, but she likes. He doesn't care for sushi that's wrapped with the the nori on the outside. She wants that on the inside and wants the rice on the outside. So some of the places that make these veggie rolls don't roll them the way she likes them. So we ate at a sushi place down in Durham one time. I think it was called Rock and Roll Sushi. Have you ever heard of that place?
Oh yeah.
I had never been in one of those before, and it's like a sushi. There's a sushi conveyor belt running throughout this place, and you just sit down and it's a buffet and you pay one price and you just pick up whatever you want off the conveyor belt as it comes by. That was kind of interesting. And they weren't rolling anything by hand in there. They had this machine that they would load up with the nori and the rice, and it made their rolls. And I also like places that make the very I can't what's the word my mind's shot tonight. The rice balls with the fish on top. What do they call that? It's a great way to taste a specific fish. I can't remember right off the top of my head. Tamago, that's what they call the egg. Honorog, what's the rice ball called that's got the one piece of fish on it and various the name of that is escaping me here at the moment, but I like to go places sometimes. Nigiri, yes, Brian, thank you. That's what it is. The nigiri. I like to go places sometimes where I can get 6 pieces of nigiri that each have something different on top of them, or you can get the chef's choice, and you'll get one that's got yellowfin on it, or salmon, or whatever they've got. They'll it's a good way to taste the fish. Sometimes when you're getting a roll, especially if you're getting a dragon roll, it's hard to separate out the flavor of any particular fish because some of these have an eel sauce on them, or some of them have spicy mayo, like a sriracha mayo drizzled on it, which kind of sometimes causes you to miss out on the flavor of some of the fish that might be on top. And avocado. I'm not an avocado fan, but I don't have a problem with avocado in my sushi rolls. I don't do much with avocado outside of sushi. So
Have you ever heard of cowfish?
cowfish?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's a sushi restaurant that started here in Raleigh, and they've got one in Charlotte and then one in Orlando.
Yeah.
And they do a fusion. It's kind of an Asian fusion burger sushi, and they have this stuff called burgushi.
Burgushi.
Yeah, and so
That
they
sounds good.
have so they do have this one roll called the Deliverance roll.
The deliverance roll.
Yeah, it's got pulled pork, caramelized onions, and barbecue sauce wrapped in rice, soy paper, and potato strings that are flashed and then flash fried.
Oh boy. Honorog's daughter, Anthony Honorog, has a daughter who is a Blue Devil. She's in her freshman year over at Duke, and she's living in Durham. Honorog, what's her favorite sushi place down there? Or wait a minute, he didn't say sushi. He just said her favorite hot pot in Durham.
Wants me to eat
What is
her
it?
favorite hot pot.
He might have meant hot spot. I don't know, but there's a lot of good food in Durham
There is.
and in Raleigh. In the whole triangle area down there, there's a lot of good food, but I'd hate to guess at what her favorite might be.
I'm actually going to. I got invited to the NCAA tournament here in Raleigh tomorrow. I'm going to make the Duke game, the late Duke game tomorrow. Yep.
Nice. Duke's going to be a powerhouse in this tournament. It's I'm actually hoping the Tar Heels can. I think the Tar Heels are going to make good on the fact that they let them in. They did a job on, and here's another thing. Honorog, our good friend Honorog, is a professor at San Diego State University. He's an Aztec. So he, I think he watched the game the other night, but boy, Carolina was relentless. They really did a job on that. They came into that game with a chip on their shoulder because everybody's saying that they shouldn't be there, and whether or not they should or shouldn't, I'm not going to get into that argument because anything I say will bring the wrath of my wife upstairs because she's the world's biggest Tar Heel fan. But I think Carolina needs to get by Ole Miss tomorrow to really show that they belong in the tournament. So we'll see what happens. There's only 4 ACC schools in the tournament, and 2 of them lost today. Clemson got beat today, and Louisville got beat today. And so Duke and Carolina are all that's left from the ACC. So,
yeah, that 14 seed that beat Clemson's playing my wife's Purdue team on Saturday.
Yeah, right. So we'll see what happens. I didn't even fill out a bracket this year. I just these brackets every year for the last 4 or 5 years, my bracket performance has been worse and worse and worse. And I'm really concerned now. I do believe that all the NIL money is going to make it nearly impossible for me to pick a bracket. I don't know. And Duke's a good example. I don't think Duke is national champion material. They're good, but what Duke lacks is experience. Duke is always full of one and out players. They got all the McDonald's All-Stars or whatnot. They got all the blue chip freshmen who aren't going to be there next year. And those teams traditionally, in my history of watching NCAA, those are not the national championship teams. They'll do well, but they'll get outmanned by some experience somewhere down the line that they weren't banking on. But we'll see. This Cooper Flag guy's So we'll see if he's what he's cracked up to be, and if he's healthy enough to. He may not play tomorrow, but I think Duke's deep enough that they could probably Duke's second string team could probably win their first game in this tournament. You know, are you a fan of any one of the ACC schools here in North Carolina, Anthony?
Well, I was bred to be an ABC fan. However,
Yeah.
that's changed over the years, and especially
Mhm.
that my daughter is looking to hopefully go to UNC.
Yeah. Well, I
So
can't. I'm going to admit something to you guys. It's really hard for me. It really hurts because my team didn't even make the ACC tournament because I'm a Wolfpack guy. I've been a Wolfpack fan since I was a little kid, and my team wasn't even good enough to get in their own. The ACC is so big now. Is there 20 teams in the ACC?
yeah, I think so.
But the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Atlantic Ocean is the one on the right side of the country when you're looking at a map. It's that one. It's the one that Florida. It goes from Florida to Maine. That's the Atlantic Ocean, and the Atlantic Coast Conference used to be teams that were in states that bordered the Atlantic Ocean. So now we've got Miami. Miami's ACC. We got Syracuse way up there. That's ACC. We've got
Notre Dame,
which is over in Indiana. We've got Stanford,
California. Yep.
We've got teams on the Pacific Coast that are in the Atlantic Coast Conference now. We've got teams that are on the Canadian border that are in Atlantic Coast Conference. But with all those teams, they can't have a conference tournament where everybody gets to play. So, but my team this year, unfortunately, was not even good enough to make the conference tournament, which means they're definitely not good enough to play NIT. So those guys are just going to be sitting at home watching from the comfort of their.
The good news is the new NC State coach won today.
Yeah,
they're the one.
Yeah.
Beat Clemson.
Right. Well, I've gone beyond my hour, but Anthony, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out here with us tonight.
No, thanks for inviting me.
Since Jeff couldn't make it, Jeff is at his cabin up in the mountains, and he sent me a message earlier today that their internet service was not good enough tonight to live stream. So he'll be back with us next week probably, and I got to get a hold of Jeff because we haven't picked our rub and our sauce for our April reviews yet. I've got some ideas I've got a sauce that I want to review, but I need to blow it by Jeff, make sure he's okay with it so I can send him a bottle of it, and then we'll pick a rub. But we'll get you back on here, Anthony. We'll have you back if you enjoy doing it. It's always fun to have somebody to talk to. I was dreading sitting here tonight, just running my mouth, talking about what I cooked because there's not a whole lot more I can say or draw out about grilled zucchini. But it's something. The zucchini is a side that I don't see as often in the barbecue world as I see asparagus. You know, asparagus seems to be whenever people are grilling, that's the green go-to vegetable for barbecue and grilling. And I'm okay with asparagus, but I would rather have something. Asparagus to me brings the same kind of bitterness to the table that the Brussels sprouts do. And I've learned to cook Brussels sprouts that I like through a lot of pain and a lot of trial and error. I can make Brussels sprouts now that I'll eat. I'm the same with sweet potatoes. I can make a sweet potato now that I will call that diced sweet potatoes that are cooked on the savory side with savory additions instead of sweet. I think the sweetness about sweet potatoes is the part I don't like. So when I'm cooking mine, when I'm roasting them with chili powder and cumin, it's
cayenne. Throw some cayenne on it too.
Yeah, so I'm pretty good with the savory sweet potato or diced. I like to dice my sweet potatoes and I steam them to par cook them a little bit, and then I toss them in butter and melted butter and chili powder with a little extra cumin and some salt, and finished them off in the oven or on the grill at a high temperature in the 400 to 450 degree range until they're starting to char up on the outside, and they're really good.
Yeah, we like a good roasted broccoli too.
Broccoli, I like broccoli as well, and I need to do a broccoli side. I learned to like broccoli, oddly enough, during the pandemic. Broccoli was something I played with, and my wife likes cabbage, so I'm looking at some additional things I can do with cabbage as well.
There's some fun cabbage recipes.
Right. And I've looked at a lot of things, and I've got Facebook Reels saved, and I've got TikTok videos saved that I'm going to go back and look at when I'm ready to start playing with cabbage. I saw a cabbage cake that was done kind of like a salmon patty that looked really good. It was kind of I don't know what to call that. But it looked good, and it's something I'm going to play with because I think it'd make a cool side for barbecue. It's probably taking all the health benefit out of it, doing what was done to it. But I don't know. If you say you ate cabbage, it sounds better than if you ate something that wasn't cabbage. I don't know.
Well, like you were saying though, I would encourage Smoking Tar Heel, Anurag, any of these guys. Yeah, you guys, this is super fun. It's nice.
Anurag's been on with me before. He's up.
Oh,
excuse me. I might have got a drop of that down the wrong pipe.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, Anurag's been on with me before, I believe. I think he has.
What's your max amount of people you can put on here?
Honestly, I think it's 10.
Oh, wow.
I'd have to go back and look. It's that many is too small to use. I don't think I'm ever want to have more than 4. I've worked with 4 on multiple occasions, and I don't think I want to go beyond that. But it's having 4 people and just having a round table discussion about one topic or another is kind of fun when you get it going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to wrap things up. And Anthony, I appreciate you coming on. Yep. Excuse me. I appreciate you coming on with me. And
thank you.
We'll definitely invite you back. So I'm going to shut this down. And guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and we will see you next week.